Welcome to today's tutorial where we are going to be talking about quilted jackets. I'm Cindy Cloward with Riley Blake Designs, and I have my good friend, sewist, quilter, here to talk about all things quilted jacket. So welcome, Paula.
Thank you.
And I know you have a love for quilted jackets, so tell me how you got into quilted jackets.
I had seen some quilted jackets and wanted to make my own. So the first one I made was this one that is made from my great-grandmother's, the pink part is my great-grandmother's quilt, and the light blue, or the blue sleeves, because I didn't have enough of this, was from my second great-grandma, and they were both cutter quilts when I inherited them. So
Which means they're already cut apart.
They were all, and had been worn out. Lots of really worn spots on them.
So you are giving this a second life, and how beautiful
and
this
I put
looks.
it on, and I think I'm taking Grandma with me. Grandparents that I had never known, any of them. So I laid out the pattern that I had drafted and tried to figure out how I could get the best
use of
the baskets, because that's my favorite part. But you can see how faded it is.
It was well loved and well used.
Yes,
look at that.
So I did that. I'm a dressmaker before I was a quilter, and so I constructed this with bound French seams. I knew I wanted pockets for your keys in your phone, but I didn't want to compromise the outside of this quilt. So I hand appliqued a little pocket inside.
And I love that you used Liberty fabric to finish this off. Just a sweet Liberty fabric that brings in the blues and the pinks together.
Because there was nothing plain. There was everything I tried to put with it just was, kind of appalling to this part.
So I love how that turned out. Okay, tell me about this is the jacket that you made for us for Quilt Market this past fall, and this is the actual pattern that you've drafted that you can buy. You can make these jackets. It's actually easier than you think to make. We're going to take you through it, but we made this out of a whole cloth, or you made it out of a whole cloth.
Out of cheater cloth.
So no pieced prints, yes. But it looks like a pieced quilt in there. So that looks really great. Again, I love the binding of a gingham.
If you have an antique quilt that the binding is still good on, you can cut like the lower part of the jacket.
Oh, the bottom part.
To use that binding, but there was nothing that way on this quilt at all.
Very good. So, okay, show me your other jacket.
I was going to say, let me show you the one behind us is a quilt top that was dropped off at my house, just the flimsy, and it's quite bright. It was
loud and proud. Coat of many colors.
Coat of many colors. Joseph's coat. It was pieced by a grandma that had moved into the home and just needed to keep busy, and she loved to piece. So everybody in the neighborhood would drop off fabrics to her, and she would cut them up, and it's a double wedding ring. But it's not my style, my colors, anything, so I put it in a pile to go to Goodwill, and then I thought, I want a duster. So I had nothing, there's no emotional bond to that quilt at all, where on my grandma's quilt it's emotional for me to wear it, because it's all hand pieced. But so I pulled it out, and I picked out a whole cloth, a Lori Holtz whole cloth, 108. That's how wide it is.
Oh, for the lining.
For the lining.
Okay.
Quilted it with multicolored thread, and made a duster. So it's long. It's long on me, and I put patch pockets on the front of that, which I didn't want on Grandma's quilt.
It looks fabulous, and I bet it just makes a statement when you're wearing
Every time I wear it, people of all ages, older ladies will stop me and say what a beautiful quilt it is, and I'm talking down to teenagers stop and say, oh my gosh, I love this.
Yeah, it's pretty fabulous. And I can see it looks better as a jacket than
than a quilt, definitely. But on that one, when I made that one, that's when I decided I wanted a button. So in the pattern, there is not a button. It's just it's like a wrap, and it's oversized, so it fits almost everybody.
Fits all. So there you go.
Deep sleeves. So I did a button on that one, and I can tell you how easy. First of all, you have to find a real cute button, and then you're going to you'll bind this, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You'll bind the outside, the whole outside edge of your quilt, of your jacket, just like you bind a quilt with mitered corners. But before I bind this part, halfway through, I use a little piece of binding and just stick it inside as I'm top stitching that last binding on there.
Bit.
Yep, and you just kind of flip
And
it
you
over.
can add one button or a couple buttons.
Oh yeah,
Perfect.
Yeah. So that's, it's an easy way
to add a button, because I hate buttonholes. So this is perfect. This is perfect for me. Very good. I love to see this.
And then I had no investment in that, so I made giant patch pockets. Those are like 10 inches long and 9 wide. These are about 8 by 8, and you would make it like a
pot
like
holder.
a pot holder.
Yeah.
So it's
Pot pad,
it's quilted, and you just bind it and then just top stitch those on. So that
Easy way
part's
to make a pocket. Yeah, easy
It's
way.
not in there, and we didn't put them on this one, that one.
So those are gorgeous, and these are all, if you can't tell, this is all piece. Let's just show the back.
She
'cause
had,
the
I was
back-
going to say, a friend of mine had this part. You can see the pockets and the collar. Whereas she
All
had taken a
pieced.
class, all pieced, but it wasn't that big, and she knew she was never going to finish it because it was a little fiddly thing to make. So she decided to make a coat, but she needed something out here that would not take away. So she has a home deck linen. And then the back she said was too boring, so then she recreated this block. And
Is that applique on?
she applicated on top
Oh,
of
that's
here.
beautiful. And this is
Sashiko.
Sashiko. Very gorgeous.
To
Well,
quilt.
let's just talk about the jacket. This is what jacket we're making today. But before we move to that, I did want to show this jacket is made out of our Express Yourself batiks, and you can tell it's made out of botanicals. It's a botanical print, and they took leaves and actually pressed them into the fabric to get these designs. So if you have a gorgeous fabric that is unique, a quilted jacket is a beautiful way to highlight that fabric. So we're going to move all this stuff out and get started on our project. Okay, we're back and we're ready to talk about the pattern. So you created an easy to follow pattern. It even includes pictures and a to scale pattern. So let's talk about what you need to do.
So it is actual pattern, but what you'll want to do, because it's over printed, you'll want to use medical paper or a tracing Pellon to trace your pattern, because you can see through it. You won't be able to, if you use this, you can't see through it to place on your quilt, because you'll want everything right where you want it, not in
especially
weird places.
if you're using a quilt and you want to place something
Yes.
just so,
Yes.
or if you have an interesting pattern where you want to adjust it.
And
So-
like the baskets at my
Yeah.
grandma's coat, I knew I wanted, both of them in the front for sure. So that
and this is a really thick pattern, and
It is.
it'll ensure that you have this pattern forever if you trace it. So
Right.
fold it out, trace it, and you have several things they need to trace, right?
it's you'll have two fronts because they're reverse, a back piece that you'll place on a fold, and your sleeves. You'll want 2 sleeves, and this the collar, because the way the jacket lays, when you're cutting the collar out, if you have something that's directional on the Christmas, I knew I wanted Santa's face right here, so you can see through the pattern if you've traced it onto tissue paper to make sure it's.
And it helps you to put that design just where you want to, because you see, your first one you made was for Christmas, and so it's
Yes.
fun to have a holiday, but you can see the collar right there. There's Santa on both corners
Yes.
of there, so that was perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so the pattern has several steps. I love pictures when I'm making things. So you have a partially assembled jacket. So take me through.
I was going to say, let me back up just a little bit, because on the back it tells you what you'll need. Like a twin size quilt or 3 yards of sandwich fabric, full width.
So 3 yards of a top and 3 yards of an inside fabric that's sandwiched
With batting.
And so if you're not using a quilt, this is what we did. We took 3 yards of a top, 3 yards of a bottom, took it to a long arm quilter. She put the batting in and quilted. And then now we're working with like a whole cloth that's been quilted, but you would just use a quilt and kind of adjust around a quilt if you are, you know, repurposing a quilt. And we know there's strong feelings about cutting up a quilt. So a lot of times it is salvaging a quilt that's in distress, right?
That wants a home. And if you use, have it quilted, there is enough to, you'll have excess to be able to make patch pockets if you want pockets on the front also in that yardage. Also, in that, it tells you to cut binding, and you have 170 inches of 2-inch binding. The 2-inch binding is what goes around the whole exterior, the collar, all the way around, and pockets. You'll have to make a little bit extra of that. Then you piece it together, just like you're going to do a whole quilt like that, to bind it, and fold it in half. And then you also have in the pattern, there is how to prepare your own binding. You have 155 inches of 1.5-inch binding, and you have 170 inches of 2-inch binding. I bind my quilts with 2-inch bindings. If you bind the outside of your quilts with a 2 1/4, 2 1/8, whatever you're comfortable with.
You can use a larger binding if you're more comfortable with it.
Yes, I just like really tight bindings. And then you will prepare it. As a quilter, you know to prepare, you just press it in half. And that's the 1.5 and the 2-inch. You just fold it in half and press it. If you purchase binding, it would be double folded binding. It comes with the crease down the middle, or if you make your own double folded, crease down the middle, fold in, fold in, fold in half, and press.
So that's what's referred to in double binding. You can choose however you want to do your binding. We're showing the alternative way to do the binding for quilters, because we have a lot of quilters that watch our channel. So we're going to show it that way, but it also refers to double binding, and so we've talked about that.
So you'll just piece that 170 inches all together.
One long piece, one continuous piece.
One continuous piece, and then press it in half is what we'll demonstrate today.
Okay, so we have 2 different size binding, and you bind the outside very last. So let's talk about how you bind the inside. You finish the edges so beautifully.
So you
in
can
this
wear it
jacket.
inside out. So that's why you choose Way Cute in linings, because you can wear the jacket inside out. So the first thing, we are seaming the front seam to the back.
So we do right sides together. For the back is one big piece, and the 2 sides are 2 different pieces.
And the pattern tells you to seam, all of your seams are 1/2-inch seams, and then trim them down to 3/8 of an inch. So I've already started pinning this, but you will sew, it tells you to sew the binding to the seam. So I haven't caught anything other than the binding in the seam.
Okay.
And you sew it to the back.
So we're kind of doing a beautiful French seam on the inside.
And then we will press it. We will press it and then pin it, because then you're going to top stitch right along that fold, near the folded edge.
Okay, I'm going to hand you the pins.
And Cindy's going to pin.
And I'm going to sew it.
She's going to sew it for us.
Okay, very beautiful. Okay, so it's important to press that. I think we previously pressed it, so it's fine now too. And I'm going to do a teeny little top stitch right along there. Okay, and it's probably important to use matching thread that you don't.
And
you
keep
won't
in
notice
mind,
on the back
yes,
side.
keep in mind, it will show on the outside.
So we're using a neutral cream thread, and do you just leave it at 2.5, my stitch length?
I will lengthen it just a little bit, like a top stitching.
Okay, so what do you want? 2
3
7/8?
3.
Oh, 3. Okay.
Yeah, a 3.
I'm turning my stitch length to 3, and now we've got all this bulk. Maybe we'll start this way.
Yeah, start that way, and I would roll up, or just let it hang in there. Roll up that sleeve. Yes,
I've
just
gotta-
kind of fold it up. Don't catch it.
Right. I learned to garment sew quilting later in life, so this takes me back a little bit. But I didn't do French seams, many French seams, when I was sewing. So this is a beautiful finish. Okay, I'm just going to do a little back stitch on that.
Yes, always backstitch when garment sewing.
And that's just not something we do as a quilter. I'm gonna, it's pulling me a little bit, so I gotta adjust. There we go. That is it. And you're not gonna go fast on this, you guys. Just take your time. Do a really nice job with that top stitch. And it kind of pulls on you, doesn't it?
It's a lot of bulk. But she's doing a lovely job.
I don't think we've ever sewn together. Now, Paula and I have known each other a long time. She's one who helped me learn to quilt, and she has made bespoke dresses for me, and I've learned a lot. So this is kind of fun to sew together today, Paula. Okay, I'm gonna
So the seam,
backstitch that.
the seam is completely encased. No raw edges in there.
And that's what makes it reversible. So there we go. I did it. I encased my seam.
And you can see from, I mean, there's nothing you can see. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's just a little cream, but you have to make sure to pull that so you don't get a
Yes.
little bulk there.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
what's next? We've
Next
got
is-
our two shoulder seams
Yep,
done.
so flip this way, and you're going to grab the sleeve right there.
Okay, here's our sleeve,
You're going to mark the center of the,
the sleeve. So this is what it looks like when
and
you
it's
cut
the
it.
same. It's the same front and back, so you don't have to worry about if you have
So
the
we're
front.
marking the center.
Marking the center, and you're going to
Okay.
put that right on your center line and pin that.
Okay, so where's my, let's make sure, here we go. So right sides together. Let me
Up this
just-
way.
I'm gonna pin that. Oh, there we go.
Right sides together.
I'm gonna just pin that.
Find your center.
And center seam.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Then,
And then just pin out this part. This part you can sew really fast.
now if you're a garment sewer, this is gonna be a piece of cake, right?
Yes.
But if you're a quilter and
It's
just
still-
learning to make a garment,
It's still a piece of cake, and it's very unforgiving.
this is like doing curves.
Or it's very forgiving. Yes, very forgiving though, because you
Does
don't have
curve
to.
piecing.
You don't have to fit anything.
And I love how you're finishing the inside seams. That's just a beautiful piece. Because we've seen these quilted jackets made, and sometimes you open them up and they don't have pretty insides, right?
I've seen quite a few that are just serged. But you can wear this inside out.
Okay, very nice. All right, so now I'm going to sew.
A 1/2 inch right here.
Okay. I'm
And
gonna
you can
do a
sew
1/2
like
inch.
really fast.
Okay. Just a little bit of a corner there, just tiny, just tiny. And it really is helpful for you to hold the bulk of this jacket for me.
And probably if you were like sitting down, and it'd be easier.
Okay, we'll backstitch that. All right, our sleeve is now attached to the body.
So we're going to press the sleeve, the seam, this sleeve seam. Press it towards the sleeve.
Okay.
So I will just make sure I'm just have that nice and flat, and I'll press it from the inside. kind of pulling on it, making sure it's out all the way.
So you kind of did the same pressing when you did the top of the shoulder.
All the
okay.
way. And then I will flip it to the other side and just make sure, and just repress it one more time.
Okay.
And just make sure that that is nice and flat.
And the seam is flipping towards
the
sleeve. Okay.
Yes. So you do that all the way from end to end. Just kind of move, I'm moving the seam with my finger.
Get a little steam burst
Yeah,
there.
nice. And then Cindy's going to trim it.
Let me grab my scissors.
So you trim both of the seams down to between an eighth and a 3/8.
Okay, so I just gradually move in there.
Right, gradually move in,
Okay.
kind of tapering
And
that
just
in.
kind of eyeball it. Okay.
I was making my suit the day I got married, this gorgeous pink gabardine suit, and I was trimming, of course it was the day before, trimming the collar on my suit and
Did you cut into
clean through, cut right into it. So be cautious when you're trimming that you don't cut the sleeve, the body.
We're just trimming down. It's almost like a
Healthy quarter, true 3/8.
Okay. Just go all the way down there. Here we go. This is pretty easy to do. This taper it out. Okay.
Yep. Yes.
Throw that bulk away, and now kind of like we didn't take you through the steps before, but like you did on your shoulder, you're gonna leave.
This is the 1.5" binding.
And you put it on the body side first?
Yes.
Okay. So you said in the pattern you need to leave about 2 inches from the end. So we're going to 2 inches.
A nice 2 inches.
And just like a quilter, you're putting it right to the edge, right?
The cut edges, the fold edges, going to be top stitched over.
And if you had a double-sided binding, you would open it up and put it on.
Yep. Yes.
So we're doing a quilter's binding today. So I'm just going to do like a couple inches in for the sake of time and just show you how
and
that
this is
works
just, he's just hanging out here.
But you would start at the
the
end right there.
Yep,
Okay.
at the end of the sleeve.
We'll just do a quick little part of this for the sake of time. And we got our 1/4 inch foot, so we're just doing a 1/4 inch. Okay, so that is enough for a demo. Let's take it back here. We're gonna lay it out, kind of like we did for the shoulder seam.
Yes, and then you can press the binding that way. You've already pressed the seam that way, but you can also kind of, get that nice and flat. And then you're going to pin it, just like we did the shoulder seam, all the way along and top stitch right on that little folded edge.
And then you're gonna sew all the way along there.
And leave these 2-inch babies hangout things right there.
Because we'll trim them once we do the next seam. Okay.
So the next thing we're going to do is sewing from the sleeve all in one seam down to the side edge.
So this is what it looks like with this seam done, right? Like that. The shoulder,
So
around the shoulder.
Yes, and you can see what this little intersection in here.
So then we're going to go from the outside edge all the way down.
Yes, and you have to match your sleeve seams there. So that's where you'll start pinning here and pin out and pin down to the side seam. And that is like a lot of bulk,
And then you cut your tails when you're after you've sewn that seam.
And take a nice 1/2 inch seam, and then
you're going to cut a nice 1/2 inch seam, and then you're going to trim down again.
Trim it down again. This part, because you remember when we pressed the shoulder seam and the sleeve seam, we pressed it out flat. We don't have that luxury now because we're working in the round. So you're going to have your hand up inside here.
Okay.
And you pull it. You're going to have to pull that because you've got to hide all of that junk in here.
All right.
So stick
So
your
now
hand up inside there.
And that's how I'm going to have to pin it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I have done this a time or two, but it's been a while, so okay.
And
we'll
this
grab
part
this.
is, there's a lot of bulk, and
And you're still trying to
pull it over to hide that.
Okay.
So once you get those seams lined up and you know everything's right there, then you can trim your tails off. And you can actually trim that just slightly smaller than the 3/8 right there where all the bulk is, just to alleviate the bulk.
And there is the bulkiest part right there, so I'm going to take my pin.
You will bend pins.
Then I'll just scooch it. Oh,
Not
that
like that one.
I
Chuck
did.
it. Chuck it.
Okay. That's a lot of torque going on that pin. Oh, come on, pin.
Oh, you're
Come
kidding.
on, come on. I did it.
There,
okay.
you did it.
There we go.
Okay, this is the hardest part of making the jacket, because you're going to sew up part way on the from the seam, from the side bottom, part way, but you can't get up into here. You'll back tack. You'll go as far as you can. Cindy's going to be doing a little gymnastics here in just a second.
Okay.
Sweat pouring off her face.
And then do you hand sew the rest?
No, and then
Oh.
you'll flip this inside out, and you'll start inside the sleeve and come out.
Okay.
She's going to be nested right inside this sleeve.
Okay.
But if you don't, after watching Cindy sweat this out, you may want to do it by hand, which once you've got it all pinned, you could actually, just fit your arm inside of the sleeve and just start hand sewing it.
You can hand sew it.
You can hand
so
sew
this
it.
is going to be so fiddly, you guys. So you're going to sew it along here as far as you can.
As far as you can reach in.
And then would I
Back
sew
tack.
it?
Back
Okay.
tack.
Back tack. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then go from the other side.
And then, yep, head back in there. I usually come
Okay.
into here, wad everything around the machine.
Okay.
And then come in here and come out.
Should I show you? Should I do
yeah.
it?
We've got to watch
Okay,
her.
we're
'cause
going to
it's-
do
yeah,
it.
I'll get the sweat
Okay.
bands.
You're going to do this with me real time. We're doing it real time right now. Let's get started. Okay.
Okay, so,
Here we go.
and you bleed and you carry on.
Okay, this time I'm top stitching from the other side.
Yep.
Where's my needles? And I'll throw those, because you really have got to pin this well.
And the good news is you have to do it twice. You have 2 arms, two sleeves.
So one side may look a lot better or worse.
When you
I
get
don't
it
know.
done and on, no one even knows
No one
the
cares.
torture that you've gone through.
Okay, here we go.
If I ever break a needle,
I'm going
it's
to back
usually
stitch because I went off my edge.
yeah. Just take a little bigger bite on that. As close to the edge as you can, but you can go up.
Okay, I'm going to take that up and I've got to just
Yes.
pop it over.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
This is the most exciting part of the whole show.
That's right. Okay. Again, this is a little fiddly, but
And bulky.
we're doing it. We are doing it. Okay, now we are crossing over.
Okay.
This is the critical juncture right here. So how far can we go?
It's like the limbo? How low can you go?
That's right.
Keep going. You go as far, you just push it until you think there's no way I'm going to be able to get any further.
Okay.
Without running over the coat. I have done that.
We
Look
don't-
at you.
We don't do a lot of clothing.
Okay, I
at
have a
this
back
show.
tack here.
Back tack here. All right,
Okay,
let's
so now-
take it out.
Yep.
Here we go. Okay, we'll take it out here.
Oh, you have to feed him out very gently because you've got this whole coat
There we
rubbed
go.
up. Look at that, baby.
So we went from here to here, and now I'm going to try and go a little bit this way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, and you can turn it inside out.
Okay.
I mean, turn this whole sleeve before you start that. Let's turn
the
it
whole-
inside out and sew from the inside.
Okay. How do we do that?
Very carefully
all
because
those
you've got all
pins.
those pins.
This is really interesting. I'm glad you're walking me through this.
You won't be able to see this at home, I'm sure.
Okay, we've
Because
turned
you're
it
going
inside
to
out.
you're going to pull this. Yeah, you're not seeing the needle at all. You can't roll it.
I can't roll it.
Nope, you're going to put this inside here and just keep pulling until you find your back tack.
Okay.
Yes, 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 yes.
An old dog can learn new tricks. Here I am.
Think of all the calories you're burning doing
Okay.
this.
Okay, so I am pulling it like this and then I'm sewing from the inside.
Yes.
You won't be able to see this on the camera, but you can get the
She's
gist of
just
what I'm doing.
yep, wadding that all up in there.
Wow. Okay. This is something new. I've never done sewing quite like this. All right.
Look, but you're almost there.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right. Now we're going to back stitch.
Back tack right there.
Now I'm going to have to pull out these big old bird pins.
But you need them long to be able
Yeah.
to cover everything.
There we go.
Look, like a boss.
Here we go. This is great. Okay, here we go. Back tack, back stitch.
Yep.
Bring it out.
Now turn it inside out because it'd be so pretty.
Ooh. Ooh.
No one
Wow,
even
you
knows. No one even
guys.
knows or cares from the outside because you can't see the stitching. But look at this.
Let's look at our work.
Look at that.
Okay. Wow. I did it. I did it. Wow. Okay, so
now-
the last thing.
So the
oh,
next
next
the
thing
last
is what?
is your collar.
Okay, we're going to
So you've cut your collar, and you have bound it. If you'd use the double fold, you'll just slide it on because it comes, pressed that way, miter the corners, or just bind this like a
quilt.
a wall hanging.
Yes.
On 3 sides, only on 3 sides. And you're going to find the center of your collar.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do that while Cindy finds the center of her back.
The back. Okay. Find the center. Will you hand me a little pin? Okay. Not the one I
Decapitated.
decapitated. Okay,
Can
so
you use that
that's
word?
there's the
Center.
center there.
Okay. I was going to say, you want the collar to lay so you can see it. I guess you could do it, two-sided, but I like the
pattern.
The
Yeah.
pattern. So you attach it totally. Like wrong. It doesn't feel natural.
Because you're sewing it into the binding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So you're going to put the
Interesting.
right side of the collar
Okay.
to the wrong side of the jacket.
The right side of the collar to the wrong side of the jacket, which means over here.
Match your centers first.
Matt, okay. So
Yes.
is this right?
Yes.
Okay.
Which doesn't seem
It doesn't-
logical.
it does not
It's not.
seem
It's
right.
not natural.
Okay, so we're gonna pin that there.
And if you have, I was going to say, I noticed just right here on this seam, just kind of, trim him off.
Okay.
This is not bad. Yep, trim that off.
Okay.
And you're just going to pin this right side to wrong side of your jacket. Which is that really the wrong side if it's a two-sided jacket? You wear it inside out? What would you call it?
I don't know. I'm still reeling from that sleeve I just did. I'm like, wow.
Cindy's
okay.
going to need a nap.
Okay.
So now you're going to base this on. We just
Okay.
need it held in this spot to attach
All
our
right.
outside
I'm
binding.
gonna
So
do
clear
my-
to 5.
5. Okay.
Fast.
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 And what kind of, am I going to do a 1/4 inch?
Yeah, quarter inch.
Okay.
Just shy of a 1/4,
Okay.
because we're not trimming this one off.
Here, would you hand me the... All right, I'm not gonna backstitch because it's a basting stitch. Oh, okay, now what's next? And check yourself. You're like, okay, that's gonna flip over. That's
Yes.
what we wanna see.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
And as on this Minky Kim cheater cloth, when I cut the collar, I made sure that the writing, she's got some text in some of it, and that's why I made sure that it was going the right
Direction. Okay.
And you flip that down.
So it's easier to use a non-directional fabric, but pay attention if it is the directional.
if that bothers you.
Okay.
When I bound my collar, I sewed the binding to the back side, flipped, and top stitched right along the little fold edge.
Okay.
Okay, so now we are to the last step. Pretend this is like all done,
All
completely.
done.
And you're going to...
You're going to bind your whole jacket.
Yep.
Okay. The
and
outside.
And we're going to leave a tail. You're going to leave a tail, and you have to keep in mind that you're going to sew it to the wrong side here, so that you can flip it and top stitch on the right side. So
Okay.
you're going to start on the wrong side of the
like
collar.
the inside, the wrong side of the collar.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Gotcha.
and leave a tail, because you're going to do this.
Now,
in,
do you clip at all? Because there's a little. No, not at all.
Not at
okay.
all. Not at all. Which helps the way it fits, because it looks like it's way more construction than just a straight collar.
And that collar is just sewn into your binding now. That's
Yep.
brilliant. That's
and
really
so then,
brilliant.
so you sew this all the way around, just like you're binding a quilt. You'll come down to the bottom front
Do your
seam.
mitered
Do your
corner.
miter corner all the way across the bottom of the jacket, back up, back around here. Yep.
And you end here.
And you'll piece just like you
Finish your
binding on your
Okay.
quilt, and then you're going to top stitch it over, and you're going to top stitch it just like the collar on this right side. Mm-hmm. So
and if
it's-
you were a hand binder, you could always
Oh, yeah.
hand bind that
yeah.
too.
But
Okay.
when you start doing that here, you've got to make sure to pull your collar out of the way when you're top stitching it.
Gotcha. So that's not
So that
caught
you-
in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's caught
okay.
in. But that's
Then you're done.
Then you're done.
And you've got this beautiful jacket. Beautiful jacket. Either you've used quilted fabric or you've used this whole cloth, and you're finished.
okay. Watch. As I'm saying, Snee's going to try it on. She looks. It matches her shirt.
Oh, it kind of does.
It does.
Okay, let's put it on. And
As if she
fashion
wasn't
show,
sweating enough
fashion show,
before.
right? Take a look at that. I think I'd want my pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's great.
But the collar doesn't say the collar. It just rolls.
Oh,
it just-
that is perfect. Well, this is so well
And then-
constructed.
And then just bind your sleeves same way around
So
the
you
edge.
bind your sleeves so you can roll it up like this, and you can
That's
have
why
a,
you have
a
something
different
cute
look.
inside.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Paula, thank you so much. I learned a lot. I hope you did too. And you're all ready to make this jacket, because I think I'm going to make a few for me for the holidays. And my daughter and daughter-in-law.
Yes.
I think this will be a
Yes.
wonderful holiday present. So thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
I hope you learned a lot. Join us next time for our next tutorial.